Hi there. My name is Jason Wright, and I'm the creator of Oddball Magazine and oddballmagazine.com. So, a little bit about us. So, Oddball was started in 1995. At the ripe old age of 5 years old, I started it. No, I'm just kidding. I was 15, and that dates me pretty bad. But anyway, in 1995, I started Oddball Magazine as a sophomore in high school, and it was a big response to things that were going on in my life: divorce, bullying, just not feeling like I fit in. And I was writing a lot of poetry, and I was just thinking that, it'd be a great idea to put together a zine to kind of talk about the malaise of high school life. So we began Oddball that way. So I got kind of sick as I got older, sick in the way that I had never been. I was diagnosed with multiple mental health issues, and because I was diagnosed with multiple mental health issues, Oddball became more of a lifestyle, and it became more of a way that I coped with the world. So I wrote a lot of poetry, and I made a lot of zines, and I made a lot of poetry friends through zine making, and I made a lot of I don't know, I just did a lot of growth through Oddball. So in 2010, I was working at a restaurant, and two things happened. My wife, she told me, she was my girlfriend at the time, she told me that I should put together a magazine online. And this person when I was working at a restaurant said that you have a lot of great stories, you should put them online. Stop bothering me and let me eat my soup. So, listening to both advice there from my wife and that person eating their soup, I actually started Oddball Magazine online as a place to put down my thoughts. After Oddball Magazine became more of a thing, in 2012, I connected with Chad Parento. And once I connected with Chad Parento, man, we just took it to the hilt. We started publishing 3 times a day, 5 consecutive days a week. We would, use our platform to spread the Boston poetry scene and kind of like do all the kind of things that we would do. We did stuff for Poems for Joe. We did Joe Gouveia. I think the biggest thing that we first started was Joe Gouveia's tribute. When Joe Gouveia was a poet, he was dying of cancer. Me and Chad visited him in the hospital, and we thought that it would be a cool idea to tribute him. So we tributed him by getting all of these poets from the area to tribute him in our magazine. So, with the help of my friend TJ Edson, who did a lot of our banner work and a lot of the design for Oddball, it was Oddball has been sort of a real learning experience, a real growth experience for me. I've learned a lot about what it's like to, when you just have a passion project, like you just have a project that you just want it to work, right? You just want it to work. You'll do anything for that passion project. And I had some really good friends. And I lost them by pushing them too far. I had one friend who was an artist, and my best friend, actually. And I must have pushed him too far because he just, one day he said, I'm going to draw this for your magazine, and if you ever ask me to do something like this again, I'm never going to talk to you again. And I pushed him. I said, okay, will you draw this one more piece for me? And he did. And then, you know what? He never talked to me again. It was a life lesson I learned. It was a lesson that I learned that if you push someone too far, if you don't appreciate their friendship, that, they will leave you. So after that experience, I really connected with my friends, and we really began Oddball. And the thing about before that was that we actually created the 4th issue, which was a zine, and it was beautiful. It was called Nevertown. And it was a response to me living in Somerville, which was a beautiful town, but it just felt like nothing was ever going to happen to me, that I was never going to get through anything. I was never going to survive mental health. I mean, honestly, that's really the the catalyst here. Was my mental health was suffering for many years, and the only thing I knew how to do was write poetry and play music, play guitar. So I wrote a lot of songs, a lot of songs under the name Man the Storm. And through Man the Storm and also Oddball, I began to develop an identity around Boston. And then it wasn't until I connected with Chad Parento one day when I was at Stone Soup. I went into his open mic and I went up there and just started becoming part of the community there, which is a beautiful community. And once I became part of that community, me and Chad became friends. And I started working on the magazine more. And Chad started joining me. And then one day I said, Chad, will you be my associate editor? And he said, yeah. It's been a 10-year relationship ever since then. And yeah, we've had our disputes, but mostly we've had a very smooth sailing relationship where, you know, we've done an awesome job putting this incredible magazine together. The thing is, it's been online every day consecutively for 10 years. And, you know, for a poetry magazine, that's pretty good. And honestly, you know, no matter how many views we have, which I don't know if that's that many, but we have put out so much content. We've put so many poets on the map. And, you know, we've really just built a huge community. So in 2019, well, let me back up a little bit. So there was the podcast for a while. The Oddball Show was me, Chad Parento, and scholar and prof of JP Live. And we began this podcast where we would meet on Google Hangouts and we would interview interesting people and all sorts of stuff. So gradually, people started to drop off the podcast. First person who dropped off the podcast was Ivan, or Scholar. The second person was Chad. The third person, well, me and Prof, we rode the website, we rode the podcast all the way up until we were about 4 seasons in. And then Prof stepped away to start working on other music. And Prof, if you ever hear any of his interviews, he's a great interviewer. Me and him had a great time. And, you know, saying goodbye to him was difficult. But I persevered on, and I ended up continuing to build, you know, the Oddball Show and Oddball Magazine and everything. Published 3 books, put 3 books together. 4 books. 1 being mine, 1 being my dad's, and 2 being 2 poets from Boston. And in 2019, I began thinking about creating a nonprofit for mental health awareness. I had by then grown considerably from just where I had been, which, you know, was in a dark place until I found peer support and I found NAMI and I learned how to advocate about mental health and realized there's a huge community and that everything that I experienced, all the pain that I experienced actually were assets. So anyway, in 2019, I made a message on Facebook and I asked if anyone would want to help me, and Karen Morrison actually was the first person to say, yeah, I would love to help you start something, you know. So me, her, and then we got some board members. It was TJ Edson, my, you know, graphic designer and friend, and Chad Parento, my associate editor, and Liza Zayas from the Underground Garden, and Sarah Haru, who was an advocate and a longtime friend of mine, Thomas Gagnon. All of us, we got together to become board members for the website. I mean, for the foundation. And the foundation has sort of we now have about 4 strong board members and 1 board member who's not really doing so much. Not much contact, and that has a lot to do with probably my mental health break over the last 6 months. But anyway, this is supposed to be a promotional for our new foundation. So I honestly think that what we're doing for the mental health community by creating a avenue for artists, for poets, for writers to deal with their mental health through workshops, open mics, concerts, and then also just be more creative about it. So like we wanted to do social justice issues, Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, respond to the George Floyd murders, all these kind of things that were happening. We wanted to respond to it. So we had been responding through Oddball Magazine, but we wanted to respond through it in a greater way. We wanted to collaborate with nonprofits and try and see if we can affect social change. And at the same time, I've always been interested in environmental action. I've always had this kind of real relationship with the ocean. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel connected to it. And so often it's abused. I don't know how to explain it. So often it is mistreated, and oil spills will be dumped in these huge oil spills, and people will just brush it off and move on with their lives. But recently there's been kind of a push to ban plastics and plastic bags and stuff like that, and all this kind of things. And I don't necessarily know that I can make a huge difference environmentally, but I know that I can clean up a few beaches. I know that I can clean up a few parks. I know that I can respond to help out, in any kind of way, just to conserve the environment. Because honestly, I wrote in 1995 that, in a poem called Decades, I wrote, one thing will change the most. With the ozone gone, the world will roast. The heat will rise and lower the skies. It's no surprise. The future is in the hands of the youth. It's sad, but that's the truth. And that was in a poem I wrote when I was 15. And honestly, to think about it, we are going to roast if we don't fix the environmental world that we live in. We are going to destroy each other if we don't start to love one another. And if we don't respond to our mental health during this pandemic and all the things that are going on right now, we're not going to survive. So the Oddball Foundation might be a small organization, but we are mighty, and we're poised to make a difference, honestly, because, I've always wanted to make a difference in the world, and I've always been kind of mistreated. I would say I've been mistreated, humiliated, embarrassed, everything. Just bad shit has happened to me. And I mean, not as bad as a lot of people, but Oddball was my saving grace for a long time. And honestly, now I've built something, and I'm very proud of it. And we just established ourselves as a nonprofit, but Oddball Magazine has been a long time, been around a long time, and I've been around a long time, and I've written thousands and thousands and thousands of poems, and that's fine. I know that it's saved my life where other people might dabble in it. Might be a thing for them, but for me it was like a life force. So anyway, let me do this promo real quick. So so I just thought that it would be really, I think honestly that, being the founder and editor of Oddball Magazine has been my greatest triumph in my life. It's something that I built from nothing. I obsess about it. You have no idea. You think that, you ask my wife, I just talk about it all the time. And, the 3-ball from everything that I've gone through, man, it's just been kind of just stayed with me. And sometimes I have to kind of defend the name, right? Oddball, but man, I love the fucking thing. and it's just, I wouldn't want to be anything else than what I'm doing. Because honestly, if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I would probably be at the same job where I was unappreciated and my work suffered because I couldn't even tell people I had bipolar disorder. And I actually had worse than that. I had schizoaffective disorder. So anyway, two things have allowed me to be myself. One is peer support, advocating and no longer being afraid of my mental health. And by no means am I fucking healed. By no means am I healed. I'm not. I still have a lot of shit to deal with. But Oddball, for some reason, makes sense to me. And putting this foundation together has made sense to me. And building a website has made sense to me. And writing poetry fucking makes sense to me. I understand it. I don't understand a lot of things. Sometimes common sense just kind of gets to me, but I understand one thing, and I understand Oddball. And maybe not a lot of people understand it, but for me, it's been a huge healing thing. And, some people say I need to separate myself from it, right? It's a business, it's something. But for me, it's just my life, And if everyone wants to join in and be part of my community, of course. But, man, I just want to affect change with Oddball, with the foundation. And, yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to defend the name. Sometimes you have to talk about your mission, whatever it is. Sometimes you have to put stuff together and collaborate with people. And sometimes you have no fucking idea what you're doing, but you just want to do something. And I went this far, and I have a great team, like a great team. The person who's going to be editing this, Grace, is a great person. She's doing a lot of cool shit for us. Brandon, who's developing with us, he started with development. Now he's taking on a higher role. He's doing some amazing stuff. Our board, Karen Morrison, she's incredible. And Chad and Liza and TJ and Sarah, all of them are incredible. And Thomas stepped down, and Sarah isn't really much of but these people are incredible people, and we're taking on interns and volunteers and stuff, and we're really poised to make a difference in 2021. So, please consider donating to us. Just help us out. Help us do help us build the foundation. We really want. You don't have to donate that much. Just help us, volunteer with us, clean a beach with us. Your donations are tax deductible. That's a good thing. But honestly, you can do a lot to help this ailing environment, this planet that hates each other, and this world that's embarrassed to talk about their mental health. So, join us. We're the Oddball Foundation. Yeah, so I think I said enough. I hope that you will donate to the foundation. I hope that you will listen to our story. I hope that you understand how much this means to us, how much it means to the community of people who work with Oddball. So just support Oddball Foundation. We're artists, we're advocates, we're normal people with extraordinary stories. I have one, anyway. I have an extraordinary story. I'm a survivor, and if you're part of our foundation, you probably are too. So, I don't know if that's, if that's what all I can say is the foundation is poised to make a difference in 2021. And we're going to do the best possible thing we can with the funds we have, with the people we have, and the resources we have. And, even though this world is a messed up place, there's some really good people in it. And there's really good hearts in this world, and they're really trying to do some good stuff. So yeah, I've been mistreated, and I've been bullied and made fun of and stuff, and I've probably suffered a lot more than normal people should. I mean, it shouldn't be difficult to go to a restaurant or to a supermarket or feel that your life is constantly threatened. But I want to get back. I want to get back to the world. I want to get back as much as I possibly can. Because honestly, if art and poetry can save my life, then it can save your life. And if you care about the environment and you care about how people are treated and mistreated and how they should be treated, and if you care about how people think about mental health, yeah, it's a buzzword, man, anxiety, but when you're hearing fucking voices and stuff and you think you're in your own planet and no one can understand you, or you're walking down the highway waiting for someone to pick you up, or you're thinking you're God, Jesus, Bruce Lee, Tupac Shakur, whoever it is, whoever you're thinking of, whatever you're thinking about, right? You're feeling alone. You're feeling like you don't belong. You feel like you're annoying, you're aggravating. But then you come down from it and you deal with like the mess that you made. Well, the foundation is full of people who understand that we all make a mess, but we clean it up together. And, you know, no one should be ashamed of a manic episode. No one should be ashamed of hearing voices. No one should be ashamed of obsessive thoughts, whatever they are, even if they're embarrassing to think about. That's mental health. Mental health is not a buzzword. The world that has created mental health, the crazy people are the people who say that other people are crazy. And honestly, the people that have come before us, the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, the peer support movement, the Hearing Voices Network, those people are the real heroes. And we are just sort of, you know, we're kind of doing something that, you know, the mental health world has already been doing before. But now mental health has gone mainstream, where Hearing Voices Network was not a popular thing back in the day. It was a community of outcasts. You know, the Icarus Project was a community of outcasts who came together. And all these people should be celebrated because they're really the shoulders that we stand on now. You know, so there's influencers talking about mental health, and they're saying that, you know, mental health should be talked about and it should be, you know, and that's great. But when you're suffering with it and you feel like you can't talk about it because you're embarrassed by your thoughts, you're embarrassed by how you're feeling, you're embarrassed about just like the things that you're experiencing, that's when stuff like art and writing and poetry and music and comedy and dancing and building shit, that's when that stuff is effective. Reading a book because you can't silence your thoughts. These are the things that the foundation is about. We're really, you know, mental health and mental illness, right? There's a difference, right? So mental illness is what they give us. It's what the diagnosis is of mental illness. It's a disorder. It's a disease. It's something uncurable, something you'll never cure from. Mental illness is not a disease. It's not a disorder. But they say that it's a disease. It's a disorder. They say that your experience is not valid and that it should be medicated. And honestly, that's what the foundation is trying to with collaborations from all the mental health agencies, we're trying to remove that stigma. Not the stigma of anxiety. Anxiety is a fine way of saying, I don't feel great today. But when it's burning in your chest and you can't do anything about it, when unrelenting thoughts are keeping you from going outside, when your friends are asking you, are you okay? Why aren't you okay? Or they just make fun of you, say, oh, there's something wrong with them. That's mental health. Understanding your mental health is important. So when the pandemic happened, I was equipped for it because I'm a trauma survivor. But there's a lot of other trauma survivors out there. I've never been in a severe car accident. I've never been raped. I've never been beaten severely, and I hope none of those things ever happen. But there's plenty of people who have been through some serious shit. But there's also plenty of people who had never experienced anything like the pandemic. So when the pandemic happened, now all of a sudden, mental illness is recognized because we're all experiencing it. Because what was happening right now in the world, it's not it's not normal. I mean, no one was expecting a pandemic. No one was expecting all this stuff. And honestly, people who have survived trauma and people who are surviving this pandemic are one and the same, because this is a fucking traumatic event for a lot of people, honestly. So anyway, there is a difference between mental illness and mental health. Mental illness, as I said, is what they diagnose us with. And mental health is something that everyone has. Mental health is important to maintain so you're not diagnosed with a mental illness. Does that make sense? So even if you're diagnosed with mental illness, you can sugarcoat it and say, yeah, and you can change the language around it all you want, of course. But it is what it is. It's someone documenting your experience and saying it's not valid and that it's wrong and that it's a disorder, that your ups and downs are actually toxic and your voices, you shouldn't be hearing them. And your mission, your passion, is probably just a flight of mania. So, in all honesty, fuck them. Because really, you are a miracle. Honestly, we're all miracles. But you are, if you're listening to this, you're a fucking miracle. If you've experienced stuff in your life that just no one can understand, you're a miracle. And honestly, no one should pathologize drive. No one should pathologize your thoughts and say that they're not valid. So, donate to our foundation and help us change the world around mental health. Because we can talk about advocacy through art all we want. But when you break it down, there is a nation, there's a world, there's a global world of people suffering from mental illness because someone told them that something was wrong with them and not recognizing that shit had happened to them. So that's what we talk about. That's what I write about anyway. Because I don't think I have a mental illness. You can call it schizoaffective disorder if you want. It's fine. Call it OCD. Hearing voices. I've heard voices. But honestly, mental health is something we all have. Mental illness is something that they label us as. And if anyone ever said that you had a disorder, I don't know. What makes you think that you have a disorder? I understand debilitating depression. I understand when you can't get out of bed. I understand when you're first put on psych medications. I understand all that. What I don't understand is why people put people on meds in the first place. and say, these temporary Band-Aids that you have to take every single day for the rest of your life, they're going to heal you because something's wrong with you. Now talk to me every month for 15 minutes. I'm going to write you a prescription. And after I write you a prescription, you can go to CVS where they can judge you for having Depakote, and your friends can call you fat because you've gained weight. And then tell me how you feel about yourself. You're not going to feel great. So, really, yeah. So, I guess in the end, the love we take is the love we make, right? Or the love we make is the love we take. That's what the Beatles said. I say something different. I say that the love that we give each other, the love that we give one another, is going to be really the saving grace for this world. And it doesn't matter what disorder, what diagnosis, whatever, what trauma you've experienced. If you're still here, you're a miracle. So, donate to our foundation. And thanks for listening. And enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your life. You'll see us, whether you donate to us or not, because we're not going away. Because honestly, mental health and mental illness, social justice, and environmental action are all very important things in our life that need to be addressed. So, I will close off with this. You are a miracle. Don't let anyone ever tell you you have a disorder or disease. And if you have an illness that someone gave you, tell them to check themselves. Why do you think that you are better than me, that you have the prescription and the pen and I have to take the medicine? Just think about that. Anyway, this is Jason Wright, and I appreciate everyone who has donated to the foundation. I appreciate everyone who has been a community member of Oddball Magazine, and I really hope that that you consider donating to us. So, we try very hard every single day to uplift creators in our community through our podcast, the Oddball Show, and all that kind of shit. So that's I've been rambling, but here. So if you listen to this last 33 minutes, this is probably what you're probably gonna hear on the commercial. So right here it goes. I don't know if you can hear that. Hey, it's Jason Wright, the founder and editor of Oddball Magazine. Started as a street zine in 1995, Oddball has been a passion project of mine since I was 15 years old. Creating the website in 2010 and bringing on associate editor Chad Parento has moved the company to become one of the most active online magazines in the poetry scene. Another way we try to uplift creators in our community is through our podcast, The Oddball Show, where I have conversations with artists, mental health advocates, and many other incredible motivators. Season 6 is underway and off to a great start. The best part about Oddball is where we're always growing and always looking for new team members and collaborators. If you want to get involved with the foundation, magazine, or podcast, contact us. I'd love to speak with you. I'm Jason Wright of the Oddball Foundation, Boston-based and proud. Here's a message from our team. Welcome to the Oddball Foundation. All right. Welcome to the Oddball Foundation. Please consider donating to us. Thank you, Grace, for editing our commercial. And I hope you can use the last 30 minutes because that's more important than the last 30 seconds. So, yeah, that's a little bit about us. And please consider donating. That's it. We're out. Have a great day. It's Friday. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk soon. Peace.